So initial setup and run and the execution of Flutter app is quite easy, like in terms of steps. Especially, I will show it. I will do it on macOS, where I also have iOS simulator. So running like application on this simulator is also simple enough. So I want to go through the steps. First of all, you will need to go to this web page, download the SDK, and once you download it, once you have it locally, you need to unzip and put it in some location like this file, this folder. For me, it is development. So on my main drive, I have development as a folder, and then I have Flutter in this folder. So main thing here is this bin executable, where you have Flutter and Dart. So once you do it, as it's also explained in documentation, you will need to set your environment variable. Let me show example. So basically, in my environment variable settings, I have this Flutter, and this is how I set it. So basically, this command will add this Flutter bin directory to my path, basically. And once I do it and restart my terminal window, I can use Flutter command line tool. So once you have all this and everything works for you, you can basically execute. This is a very nice command to run. It will inspect everything locally, and then show you if you have any issues before, like issues preventing you to run Flutter. So basically, in my case, I need to accept some Android licenses. So this is one of the steps. So Xcode setup is done for me. Usually you also have some set of the instructions here, so how you can do it if you run on macOS. In terms of Android, I have Flutter plugin is not installed. It's Android Studio. Dart plugin is installed. The thing is, I don't use Android Studio, at least at this point I don't use it. Maybe at some point I can install. IntelliJ IDEA, the same. I use Visual Studio Code. I will show you in a second. So it's green for me, and it already sees some devices, so this is also good news. So once you have this, you can actually create project and start working on this. This is also quite easy step. So I have this listing. So this is a command you need to run, Flutter Create, and then project's name. So I am now in this folder. So once you do this, you will need to wait for some time. It will generate a default structure for the project. And what I do after this, like you can basically create and then run this project by running this command. For example, first time I executed it and I tried to run it on my device. So for this, I will need to set up some development license and etc. But if you switch, if you are, of course, if you are using macOS, if you switch to simulator, you can actually run it without any problems. Which I will show in a second. And once you run it, this will be your, if you run it from terminal, this will be your default like menu during the execution, where you can do hot reload, restart, and etc. But if you also use Visual Studio Code, so you have all this by default. So basically what happens when you install Flutter and do Flutter Doctor or run it first time in a Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code will ask for some installation, like it will install some extensions, after which you will be able to use Visual Studio Code as a default IDE, meaning that you can just click this button here. It will execute Flutter application, and hot reload will be already like enabled by default. So for example, if I change code here, so you can see this text changes, like, or I can just basically delete everything. So it will change immediately. And let me see if and yeah, as I said, so one thing that you might need to do also from Visual Studio Code, if you run commands, Command Shift P in my example, you will need to probably switch device. So basically Flutter select device. This command will show you existing devices, and you will need to pick one. In my default simulator, I have this iPhone SE 2nd generation. So this is the device that I choose here. And that's why when I select start, it will start on this device, on the simulator basically.